Hey, good night, everybody. Jeff here from Defensive Shooting Skills. And what the heck is going on in this world? Got a show going for tonight. We've got three guests with us. We've got Audra, who's been on before. Everybody knows Audra. We've got Dylan. He's been here before also. And last but not least, we have a special guest, Steve Dulan, attorney at law from Lansing, Michigan. Defense attorney, firearms attorney, co-chair of the MCRGO, and also on the board now with the NRA. Tell you what, if I'm involved in the shooting, this is the man I'm calling. Steve and I have known each other for probably, how long, Steve? Probably about 7 years now?
Several years, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we started off, he was doing legal portion for classes, and got to know him there from doing that a little bit, and got to be friends with him on Facebook, and for about, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years there, it was just pretty much every night, the person I was chatting with on Facebook. Every night, neither of us could sleep, so kind of crazy.
Insomniacs unite.
Yeah, so... we're really going to have a scripted show tonight. There's really anything special, but I just want to, Steve, actually, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you?
Sure. Okay. Let's see. I am also the professor of firearms law at Cooley Law School, and I've been on the MCRGO board and by the way, that's Michigan Coalition for Responsible Gun Owners. And we are the group that got shall issue passed in Michigan. That was before I joined the board. That was over 20 years ago now. I've been on the board for about 15 years. And I am on the board of the NRA, recently elected this last time. And I do need to say out loud that I'm not speaking officially for the NRA. I'm just happen to be one of many board members there.
Fantastic. Yeah, MCRGO is a great organization. Guys, join. It's like, I'd highly recommend, it's like $20 a year, I believe, or $30 a year. Fantastic organization. Yeah, they fight for our gun rights here for the state of Michigan, so I would highly, highly recommend them. So we're going to talk about a few things here. Let's talk about the assault weapons ban. That's kind of a big thing in the news here, really, with the assault weapons, that it passed the House barely. Two Republicans voted for it. If they didn't, it would be dead in the water. But evidently they thought it was from Pennsylvania and New York. One of them was... I guess the representative was from the same area of the district where they had the shooting in Buffalo. So he's kind of voting a little emotional, I think. So what do you guys think? What's your guys think on the assault weapons ban? What do you think?
My thoughts on the assault weapon ban is it's stupid, first of all. Like, why? I watched a lot of videos why some of the politicians were calling for the ban, and half the time they didn't even know what they were talking about. I watched a politician who called an arm strap a bump stock.
Yeah.
And I just have to laugh. Like, it's comical that these people don't know what they're talking about when it comes to what an assault weapon is.
Yeah, the guy said basically if you have with the strap and the was basically said that it makes it a fully automatic weapon.
Yeah.
So
I must have missed that one.
You know, that and what was it? What's the lady, the representative that's out of Texas? Is it Jackson? I can't think of her name, but she said that.
Oh, Sheila Jackson.
Sheila Jackson, that's the one. She said that basically an AR-15, if somebody's hit with an AR-15, it causes their body to explode. Oh. There's barely anything left, hardly any even DNA. It just vaporizes you.
We're living in the future now.
Yeah. Did she really say that?
Yeah, she actually said that.
Well, I mean, and they can't even, like, you ask for a definition too. You're like, okay, what do you consider an assault, quote unquote, weapon or rifle?
There's no such thing as an assault weapon.
Like, it's like, okay, well, what exactly are you banning? Because you don't even know. I mean, they think an AR is, automatic rifle.
Yeah, or assault rifle. The thing is, there's really no such thing as assault rifle. Assault's an action.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I have an assault phone. I could throw it at somebody.
And you probably would.
I probably would.
Yeah,
yes.
I could see that.
I feel like I've done it before. I just don't remember.
So, but yeah, it passed there. Now it's going to go to the Senate. We don't know how it's going to go there. The thing is, I would hope to think that it would be killed in the Senate. But with this last 2 weeks ago, when they voted on the red flag laws, 15 Republicans voted for that.
Yeah.
So that makes me a little apprehensive about what's going to happen with the assault weapons ban. What's your thoughts on this, Steve?
Well, I agree with everything you guys said, obviously. I haven't mentioned, but I had what I consider to be the perfect childhood. I grew up in the UP, and my dad owned a gun shop. So I've been shooting since I was a little feller. And I bought my first AR in the 1980s. It was, there were already plenty of them around by then. So it's not like this is sudden new technology either, is the other thing that kind of drives me crazy if we're doing pet peeves about this stuff. In fact, my theory is that the people who are afraid of guns and know the least about them are the most likely to vote for regulation of guns. Mm-hmm. And so what I've done for years is I take my law students out to the range. And I encourage everybody who's got family members and friends who are at all on the fence, take them out to the range and make sure they have fun. Because once you have a little bit of fun and then you want to learn more and more and more about guns, you're much less likely to vote for more gun control because you start to understand the facts and the truth behind this stuff. In another life, I was an infantry sergeant in the U.S. Army, and one of my gigs before I became sergeant is I was a machine gunner. And the truth is, if you know a little bit about it, if you fired a machine gun, you know that it's a stupid choice for a lot of reasons. It burns up ammo super fast. You can't really carry enough ammo to use a machine gun for very many minutes at all. And it's really hard to hit what you're aiming at when you're shooting a machine gun.
Absolutely.
So learning some facts is really important. And I just encourage everybody in the sound of my voice, take an anti-gunner to the range. Be nice, make sure they have fun.
Absolutely. I tell all of my people that in my classes is, hey, if you guys have never shot an AR-15, if you ever want to, let me know. We'll be happy to meet you out at the range. You're more than welcome to shoot one of mine. It's not this big mean weapon. A lot of people don't realize is 30-06s, which is the most common hunting round in the world. The AR-15 has half the knockdown. It's like half the energy. It's just totally blows my mind what people think about this stuff, what they've been told and how mad the media pushes it. I think the only reason they like the AR-15 is because it looks like an M16, the big mean weapon of war. It just absolutely blows my mind the way that everybody believes what they've been told by the media. Wish people would get out and research it a little bit more by themselves. Also, they're talking about along with that, the bill that passed was the bill to reverse the ruling that kept people from suing manufacturers of firearms if they were used in some sort of incident. And now they're wanting to reverse that to where if any family member of anybody that's been involved in a mass shooting or any kind of shooting can sue the firearms company manufacturing. I mean, if they're going to try to get it one way, they're trying to get it. If they can't get it one, it seems like they're trying to get it another, so I don't know how long this stuff's going to go on or what's going to happen. Have you heard anything on that, Steve?
No, I mean, I know what you're talking about because, we've studied the Protection and Lawful Commerce in Firearms Act.
That's the one
in detail in my class. And so, that was put in place for a very good reason, which is the fact that gun manufacturers actually work on pretty thin profit margins versus a lot of other industries. And some of the same folks who basically, destroyed the cigarette industry in the U.S. through lawsuits, and by the way they did is they got the states to come on board and share in the money. I think some of those payments are still being made to some of the states, including Michigan, or they just recently ended, and that was 20 years ago plus. So the same lawyers decided to turn their sights on the gun industry, and if we didn't have a firearms industry in this country, we'd be at a military disadvantage also, not just a civilian arms disadvantage. There's some great success stories like the Barrett 50 caliber that came out of the private firearms industry. And that's what they were trying to end was the manufacturing of firearms by suing manufacturers out of existence. So that's why the statute exists to begin with.
Yep. And if this does pass through the Senate, it goes through the lower court system, works its way up to the Supreme Court system. Hopefully the Supreme Court will fast track it. Whether they do or don't, I don't know. But I mean, Steve, this could probably be, I mean, if that goes into place, would we be having to abide by those laws if it goes into a lawsuit or until the Supreme Court rules, or would it be put on, tabled, or how does that work?
Oh, that's a great question, actually, procedurally. And this is something that my law students ask all the time. So it depends is the only answer. It's really hard to get a straight answer from a lawyer for a reason because there's so many variables. But the cases vary. What you're talking about is an injunction on the law. Injunction is an order from the court to not do something. And the order would be to not enforce the law pending the appeal or the outcome of the litigation. And so that's a separate motion, meaning asking the court for something. That's what motion means. That would have to be done. And sometimes they are done and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. So you never really know for sure. Generally with new laws that are challenged, they are held in abeyance, meaning held back, until the litigation completes. That's generally how it goes, but it does depend on the lawyers involved actually asking the court to do that.
Okay, so it could be an injunction placed, so the law wouldn't be enforced until the ruling came down from the Supreme Court. Now, here's the scary part. Just 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court ruled about firearms, commonly used firearms, being constitutional in the Brewer, I believe, case. And they came out and said that it was constitutional. During the Judiciary Committee meeting, they one of the representatives was talking to the Penguin himself, Jerry Nader, and basically said, kept mentioning Commonwealth or common use firearms. And Jerry Nadler was saying, yes, we are going after them. We are going after them. Even though just 2 weeks earlier, the Supreme Court said that they're protected. There's 25 million AR-15s in the United States, and Glocks and SIGs and all these things that have magazine capacity over 15. I'd say that's pretty much common use, wouldn't you? I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I think is really kind of surprising and absolutely scary is we've seen time and time again, especially within the last, 3 months or something like that, Biden just automatically was, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what the law of the land is. And it's been an absolute takeover of all the branches of government. So I think that's where this gets scary, because I think a lot of us are depending on our system to work the way our founding fathers meant for it to work. But we're watching.
I mean, it's not about hunting.
Yeah. What? I own guns because I fear for my life quite a bit because I have a different opinion than the Democrats, which is also another scary situation.
Yeah.
But they're not paying attention to how our government is supposed to be set up, and they're absolutely saying we don't care anymore. And it's scary and surprising, and then kind of not at all. They just don't care to hide it anymore.
Well, my fear is if they don't care about what the Second Amendment is, how long is it going to be till they start not caring about the rest of the amendments? And they're already trying to. They also, I don't know if you guys heard about the ruling that they just talked about today. There's a couple of things. Biden's actually told him to go after the ammunition manufacturers now. I heard about that on yesterday. And then today, I guess I've talking to a friend of mine who's an FFL here in Grand Rapids. And at 6 something this morning, they got an email from the ATF saying that they have to start filling out this form. I don't know if you've heard anything about this, Steve, but they have to start filling out this form to turn back into the ATF with the person's name and address and everything of anybody who's been denied or put on a hold, so they can do a criminal investigation. They're going to turn it over to the local police and FBI. Do you hear anything about that?
No, I haven't, but there's been talk about doing that for quite some time. In fact, honestly, some of the pro-gun folks have been essentially begging for that for years because the numbers are just crazy. When you look at the fact that nationally you've got tens of thousands of NICS denials every year, and NICS is National Instant Criminal Background Check System, where somebody goes up to the counter at the gun shop and the dealer calls in and says, sorry, dude, I can't sell you the gun, right? That happens literally tens of thousands of times per year nationwide. And the numbers of prosecutions are not much more than you can count on the fingers of your hands. Maybe a dozen or 2 dozen prosecutions per year for what looks to be thousands of crimes. Because if you lie on that NICS form, or if you attempt to purchase a gun when you're not authorized to purchase the gun, you're engaging in criminal activity.
That would
in
be
fact, lying on the form is a 10-year felony.
Yeah, it's not just federal. Not only it's federal also, isn't it? Because it's a federal form.
Yeah, the federal form 4473 is the one
Yep.
you fill out when you go to the dealer, and that's literally a 10-year felony. I mean, I have personally spoken with a gentleman who went to prison. He was paroled after a couple of years, but he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for simply lying on that form.
Now, I've also heard this. I don't know if you know anything or any clarification on it, but I've also been told that that typically about 85% of the people that are denied were falsely denied. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard that number too. I haven't, dug down to verify at all, but I have dealt anecdotally with clients who were falsely denied because they had names or other background information, other identifying information that was very similar to someone who was denied. I had one guy actually who had exactly the same first, middle, and last name as a convicted felon. And his social security number and driver's license number were both within 2 digits of the convicted felon numbers.
Oh, wow.
So he was denied.
That sounds like what I went
finally
through.
got it cleared up. It took a while to clean it up, though.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. Every time I would buy a firearm, I would always get put on the delay. And the reason being is because I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. There's a guy from St. Louis, Missouri, who has the exact same name that I have, born the same day that I was born, and his social security number is 2 numbers different. He's actually was on America's Most Wanted for multiple murder charges, all kinds of stuff. When I first moved to Michigan, the guy committed a murder in St. Louis, and I actually had Walker Police Department come knock on my door wanting to interview me to make sure that I wasn't him. And because I was actually in St. Louis the time when that happened.
Oh my God.
But we had receipts. We were at the zoo with a bunch of my wife's family and all kinds of stuff. It was it was crazy. It was kind of a scary thought. I'm like, I could be getting accused of something that I didn't even do because of somebody else has my same name. And they finally got it straightened out. And that's why I went to get my CPL. So I didn't have to go through all that. Now we still have to go through the next checks, but it's, it is what it is. But it's a crazy thing.
So now, is there any protection for citizens? And so say that happened to me, right? Would it be something that was simply, fixed over the hold period, or would it be something that I would have to hire a lawyer to have my rights to own a gun?
That would probably be something easier.
Well, there is an appeal process, and there is a system where if you got denied because you were dangerously close to a prohibited person, they will give you a PIN number. In fact, it's really similar to the process the IRS uses. Several years ago, somebody attempted to file income taxes in my name. It looks like it was probably an illegal alien because that's super common. And by the way, they don't prosecute that either.
Yeah, no, they don't. My husband had that happen to him. They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, you know exactly what I mean then. Sure, yeah. So it's real similar process. You get a PIN number from the feds in the same way that you would for your taxes.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So you get a PIN number, and then the next process is you have to provide any kind of documentation proving that you are who you are. And if you were denied for whatever reason, they're going to want to know why you were denied.
So, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I can understand it, and I think the PIN number would probably be the best way to go, but I know for me it was kind of crazy when this wasn't over buying a gun. It was just the guy having the guy
right
with the same name and everything. And we're a total opposite. I mean, I'm short and round, and he was tall and skinny. So, and, kind of like Laurel and Hardy there. So, but I think somebody even called it on Crime Stoppers or something like that on one of them and told them that I lived in Michigan or something like that. It was crazy. I know it was a scary time. I'm sitting there going, what in the heck is going on? So, but yeah, at least, they have things, and there's some sort of protections in that to try to, so you don't have to, deal with a lot of that if you can get that PIN number. But the thing is, it just gets me is it's just how bad. I mean, it seems like they want to go to try to abolish the Second Amendment.
Right. I mean, I guess it's not that big of a deal, but I just feel like anything like that prevents me from legally going to a gun shop and saying, hey, I want to buy this gun. I don't know, it just severely pisses me off, for lack of better words, it's like I shouldn't have to prove myself innocent in any way. Does that make sense? Like what I'm saying? Like I'm an American citizen, and I feel like we've gone so far away from this whole, hey, I'm innocent until proven guilty. And they're putting all these laws in place and these, hoops you got to jump through. And it's like, well, no, you're treating me like I'm guilty and I have to prove my innocence in order to have my Second Amendment.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just going to say, I agree with you completely, Audra. I mean, I say this a lot, actually, in various media outlets. The truth is that gun control is a failed policy of the past.
Right.
We've proven that law-abiding people are not affected by it other than to be inconvenienced in sometimes very serious ways. And it turns out the criminals aren't affected by it, and they're not even inconvenienced, right? The criminals don't care. They don't go to a gun shop and fill out forms and all that stuff for the most part. They might be sending in a straw purchaser. I get that happens, but you're not going to affect the rate of crime being committed with guns by passing any of these laws.
You would think that would be like super obvious too. Like you hear these people screaming and screaming for more gun control, and it's like, yeah, okay, but like criminals are criminals because they don't obey the law. Exactly.
Well, not to the Judiciary Committee, according to them, with this law passed, everybody who's a criminal who owns an AR-15 would automatically be like, oh, they've passed this law, I better turn it in now.
Right.
And they know it's not going to happen. I don't know what fantasy world they're trying to live in.
It's just like
it worked for drugs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Drugs, everything. Totally. My friend was just at the East Kentwood graduation a couple of months back, and hey, that's a gun-free zone, but it didn't stop a bunch of thugs pulling up and shooting into the crowd. It's such a simple concept that you kind of go, my God, this world is so crazy that they don't understand that criminals will not obey laws. Law-abiding citizens will, and then we end up with all the criminals being armed and the citizens being unable to protect themselves and their families.
Absolutely. I mean, I can see some of the laws that they wanted to put in place, such as the working more with the medical community on especially mental health and stuff like that, on people who have had mental health issues and stuff, on that being more easy for them to be able to access that on making a decision. But a lot of the stuff they're trying to put in, I mean, raising the age of buying a handgun, or actually it's already 21 to buy it from a dealer, but to buy a rifle, to raise everything to 21 years of age, is crazy. I mean, at 18 years of age, they'll send you off to fight for a country,
right,
and you can die for the country. They were saying we need to lower the age of voting. Well, they say you need to be at least 21 years of age because your brain is not even fully developed and you can't make important decisions and you're too emotional until you're like 25.
But the same people will turn around and say a 5-year-old can choose to switch their genders and take, body altering chemicals and hormones. This is what I'm saying. It's crazy.
It's so much of a double standard.
Yeah.
Then they talk about the, what is it? We need to lower the voting age to 16 from 18. Now, wait a minute. You're not mentally capable of making good decisions until you're 25, but let's lower this to 16. I don't get it.
I would have voted for like the Backstreet Boys or Hanson when I was 16. Like, you don't make good decisions when you're 16.
Tell you what, man, that's what there's so many celebrities and stuff that are starting to get involved with and stuff, and people think because they're a celebrity they know all. And it's absolutely insane. But what drives me nuts is this last time you had Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
Yeah, this guy, he's out there going, there's nobody should have these guns. They shouldn't have that, as he's walking down the street with 3 guys behind him, and one of them's jacket comes open and you see a handgun with his bodyguards. I mean, it's a double standard. If all these people's families are that important, ours should be the same.
Exactly.
In this bill that they passed the red flag law, they wanted it. The Republicans wanted it in there for more money for schools, for hardening schools, and to have school resource officers. But no, they had to take that out. But they got the red flag law in there passed. I don't get it. The things that could help and would help, they're taken back out, and the things that won't help or do anything, they keep wanting to shove through. I think personally we have enough gun laws. Just enforce the ones we have. People commit a crime, don't slap their hand and send them on their way. So, and they seem to be doing that in all the blue states.
I mean, honestly, if we're really honest about this stuff, it all goes back to what is helping the people, what is constitutional, and what they can gain out of it. What I'm talking about is the representatives, the people, quote unquote, in power. It's never, if you look at what they vote on, if you look how they vote on it, it's never what's clearly right for the people, but what gives them more power. What gives them
what puts them back on top.
It's all about power.
Yeah.
So it's all about power. I know that Nancy Pelosi said that there were a lot of Democrats that for the assault weapons ban, they didn't want to vote for it because they're coming up for re-election this fall. And they didn't want to vote for it because they were worried about what their constituents would say. And Nancy Pelosi came out and said, pretty much take one for the team. If you lose your position, it's, for the greater good, we need to get rid of we need this ban to go through.
I mean, I think I can respect that more than what we usually see is a politician knowing what's right or what they believe to be right and saying the opposite just to retain those votes. So, I mean, I guess I can value a Democrat at least saying, hey, like, we're going to vote on this way because we were told to. You get what I'm saying? Republicans they're not honest about their votes a lot.
None of them are honest about their votes.
Yeah.
Basically, the only difference between, I hate to say this, but a lot of the politics, it seems like the only difference between a Democrat and a Republican is one has an R in front of their name and one has a D. Right. But everything else is pretty much the same. It's sad that it's come down to that. People keep forgetting that we live in a republic and not a democracy.
Yeah. All
these different things, but we can get in. That's a whole different conversation.
We don't got 4 more hours.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, last time we talked about it, it's like good night. But yeah, it's just amazing the things are going on. And I tell people in my classes, pay attention. Don't just listen to the media. Research it for yourself. We've been told for years and years, the Second Amendment's always under attack. It's always under attack. It's always under attack. I don't think I've ever seen it in my lifetime under more attack than it has been here lately. Steve, you're my age. What's your thought? What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you to some extent, Jeff, but the truth is the reason it's under such attack now is because common sense actually did make some headway over the past 20 years. The worst period for gun control was probably actually 30 years, I guess. Boy, we're getting old. Would have been during the 1980s when
Really?
gun control was assumed nationwide, and there were outright bans in many cities. So Heller in 2008, the Heller case at the Supreme Court did start to turn things back the other way, and there's been a massive amount of litigation ever since Heller and McDonald in 2008, 2010. So nationwide, there's been just ongoing litigation. But Michigan getting shall issue about 20 years ago was one of a whole bunch of states that got shall issue. So that's just one sign that, yes, common sense really kind of was winning up until recently. And they're just trying to get things back the way they were because, the bad old days of the 1980s, the Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986 was necessary because the ATF was so out of control. That bill was written specifically to rein them in. And so, of course, it looks like we're more under attack now than ever, but it's only because we're kind of winning on a lot of fronts, getting shall issue concealed carry. The number of concealed pistol licenses in Michigan went from in the 1990s, we're talking about less than 30,000 statewide, to now we're closing in on 1 million statewide.
Nice.
So yeah, there have been some major victories, and of course, the other side is going to have to attack those victories.
Yeah, 1986 for some reason I was thinking it was in the early 90s, but 86, that's right.
It's a good year. It's the year I was born.
It's the year I graduated. Yeah. I'm old enough to be both of your all's dad.
I wasn't even out of
God. Good night. The brain says, yep, I'm still capable, and the body says, no. But yeah, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. And these, I even forgot my train of thought where I was even going with that. It's okay. But yeah, in 86 when that came through, I do. I remember all that. I remember the assault weapons. I mean, I went to buy an AR-15 and couldn't have certain things. I mean, there was no muzzle brake. There was no attachment. There was nothing on it. It was just a straight barrel. And that was a Colt AR-15 back then. So, but with the membership and things like that, I think, wasn't it before COVID, Steve, if I remember right, from the stuff that Brady was putting out with MCRGO, we were averaging around 680,000 people. And then after COVID, it just exploded again.
Well, yeah, because the rioting in the streets actually turned a lot of people to the realization that the police may not come when you need them. When you turn on your evening news and you see police stations being burned to the ground by rioters,
yeah,
you start thinking maybe I should take responsibility for my own safety.
Well, that, and it doesn't help also when you have representatives, the guy that in the mall that stopped the mass shooting from taking place. I think the shooter was able to take the life of 2 people, and then the concealed carry holder, 22-year-old young man.
Dixon, right?
Yeah, multiple
Dixon,
shots from like 40 yards or 40 feet, something like that.
Yeah.
8. I think it was 8 shots.
8 shots. That's phenomenal. And now they want to, basically what got me is instead of saying good job, thank you, you stop this. Basically, a lot of the left were saying, well, why did he need to be carrying a gun? Why did he need to be doing that? He's not a vigilante. He's not a cop. Da 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 da. It's like, good night. What do you want?
Or like
what do you want?
The cases where somebody will rob. There was I don't remember what it was. It was at a Dollar General somewhere, and this kid came in, had a gun on somebody at the back of their head, and somebody came in and shot the kid. And this kid's parents around there were like, you didn't have to shoot my son. You didn't have to shoot him. And the guy was like, well, he was going to execute the person he had on his knees in front of him.
Yeah.
It goes back to responsibility, right?
Well, you always hear about the bad things, but you never hear about the 2.5 million people per year that are saved or protected by firearms. I wish the media would start sharing some of that.
My friend John Lott wrote a book about that. Lott's book, The Bias Against Guns, is actually really fascinating. He essentially proved, and this has been around for years too, but he essentially proved that there's a bias in the mass media against positive uses of firearms. And it's really telling that he actually asked a lot of reporters who admitted that they had this bias, why are you not reporting positive uses of firearms? And they're so ingrained in them, or they have so ingrained in them the idea that guns are bad, that they said, well, we don't want to do any positive reports about guns because then people might buy more guns.
Oh my goodness.
And that was it. That's the only answer they could come up with.
That reminds me also of the guy that was the reporter that was going to go out and shoot an AR-15, and he shoots the AR-15 and drops it on the ground and screams like a little schoolgirl getting her pigtails pulled.
Yeah, I see that.
And I'm like, here's my daughter shooting an AR-15.
Yep.
And just like, yeah, and it just absolutely blows my mind. I thought that was kind of funny.
Or he said, didn't he say he had PTSD afterwards?
Yeah, he had PTSD afterwards after shooting an AR-15. Yeah, it's just funny how that it's so left-sided or one-sided on a lot of this stuff. But yeah, anybody else have anything you want to add? I mean, we just kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen now with the Senate. I don't even know actually if it's even going to go to the Senate. I really wouldn't be surprised also if they didn't table it.
Like what, back down from it?
Yeah, if they don't table it and not do anything with it for a while.
I don't know. They're so psychotic at this point. Like I don't see them backing down from it.
What do you think they're going to do, Steve?
My crystal ball is broken as far as that goes, but it's going to be all about their judgment on the momentum. If they feel like they have momentum going in and they have a shot, they'll do it. And if not, they'll do almost anything to avoid an embarrassing defeat right before midterms. Yeah,
that's true. The midterm, maybe it's a good thing we're in the midterms. That could be good. It could be bad because they may, want that momentum at their game and they may back down. So. Okay. Anybody else have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So guys, just
for the election results.
Yeah, the election results. That's today too. That's a whole nother category. We can get into that. I know Steve's got a client coming in here pretty quick, so he's going to have to get off of here. But
hey, it's not me this time.
Yeah. So
no, it's me. I've got a West Coast call I got to take in 10 minutes, so I need to run here pretty quick.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll let you go here, Steve. We appreciate your time. Your input is always greatly, greatly appreciated. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Bye, Steve.
Always a pleasure. Great talking to
Thanks,
everybody.
Steve.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, Steve's gone. So Steve's a good guy, man. He's a hoot. He's a hoot. And the guy, tell you what, he knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah, he
he's a good attorney.
He knows.
So, and if he doesn't know, he knows the people that do know.
That's right.
And he'll put you in contact with them.
Right.
So today is election day.
Yay.
We're waiting to find. Hey guys, Jeff here with Defensive Shooting Skills. We had to cut the video short there. We had a little one with us. Dulan's son was here today. Getting a little cranky. He's a little tired. So we decided to cut it short. We will be talking about the election results and things with the election. We're going to have another podcast in YouTube this Tuesday. Audra will be joining us, and Dulan will be joining, or not Dulan, but Dylan will be joining us again. So we look forward to it. Guys, also, if you like this content, please reach down there and hit that subscribe button and click on the bell and click on all so you get notifications of any new programs that we have coming out. You guys, everybody, we appreciate you. Stay safe. Have a great rest of your week. God bless and take care.